went and started doing things. Hey, we're live. Oh, look at that. Awesome. I can't go full screen because I'm sharing my own screen. All right. Well, anyway. Watch the video later. All right, should we do the introductions first, though, before we get into the actual topic? I know we all kind of know each other, but maybe we could just run through each other again. We'll start with Chuck.
Start with the guy with the meter mouth. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Chuck Crandall, working in Drupal for since 4.6. Don't know how long that is.
A long time. If anybody can even remember Drupal 4.
Yeah, for a little while. And working in Drupal every day.
Your turn.
Walt, and I've been working on Drupal since about 4.6, and right now I'm working on a module that's intended to be very JavaScript intensive, and I'm learning a lot about JavaScript, its weirdnesses, and the strange ways that JavaScript people do things. I'm getting very frustrated. And I haven't recently written any Drupal server code, but that's going to come eventually.
Eventually, once you get that JavaScript figured out. I'm Jeremy. You guys might remember me from such Doug meetings as the last one. And I have a beard. All right, next.
Logan Farr. I'm student studying computer science, University of Utah, working in Drupal for like 7 months now, and still realizing how awesome it really is.
Tyler Smith, work with Western Government University, transitioning back to managing their marketing websites. We're in Drupal, been in Drupal for about 4 years now. Almost all of that actually on Drupal 6. Crazy to think how long it's been out. But we're getting ready to transition
it's been a
to
while.
Drupal 7.
Yeah.
Here this, for the end of the year.
Gonna transition to 7 right when 8 comes out. Good timing.
I know it hurts, but, but they won't let me move directly to 8, so.
It'll probably take a while for the modules to catch up, even though half of it's baked in now.
Most of what we need is baked in.
How many pages do you manage? I mean, how big is that site, public site?
I think there's, I think we're on node 7,000 or so on the main site. Not all of those are active. Some of those have been deleted. And there's 6 different sites, 8 different sites. 2 of them are negligible though. The 6 have a roughly similar number.
Wow.
Minus, I don't know, they probably have about 5,000 apiece. A lot of that content is shared, similar. So we're looking at ways of how we can manage that in a single location and kind of propagate it out to a whole bunch of sites.
That's cool.
That seems, apparently it comes up every once in a while, the Doug meeting, because I remember this Tyler's situation happening before with somebody else. But well, anyway, so what's on the agenda is Drupal tips and tricks. You know, like on IRC, I'm hanging out all day, and every once in a while somebody goes, "Oh, I just figured out how to do this," and like half the people are like, "Oh yeah, well of course, didn't you already know?" kind of thing. And so there's always like the one simple thing you overlooked. And so that's kind of what I was trying to do. Feel free to interject any additional commentary, because I just put together what people were throwing out on IRC. So yeah, I'm just going to kind of go through them, and it's a pretty vague list, but I think all the topics we can get pretty in depth. And Dallas was supposed to show up and explain the couple that he suggested that were kind of beyond me, but I guess we'll just go from there. First one's from Chuck. Don't use Drupal unless you're fully invested. If it's being forced on you, you will hate it and will most likely suck at it. Thanks, Chuck. How true it is.
Those are my words of wisdom right there.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
Word for word. I copied and pasted that one.
There's no truth to that.
It's very true. Like, how many people do you know, like, just hate Drupal because they had to just use it because somebody else decided for them?
And I've met some great PHP developers who were used to a different framework or used to working in Zen or any one of these other environments, and then just tried to do Drupal the same way. Not the Drupal way, it's just their own way. Suck at it. And they just destroy things.
Well, the bad thing is like with the Drupal way, it means complete opposite from the rest of the world in a lot of situations. So that's kind of a thing that I hope will be fixed with the next version with Drupal 8. But.
Well, the big advantage of a package like Drupal, let's face it, it's enormous. And there's lots of code to do lots of things, but if you don't know that code exists and you don't know how to use it, you end up reinventing a lot of wheels.
It's true. It's like, from previous experience, Chuck can probably attest to this. A lot of times all you got to do is go look at the modules list to just see if somebody's already written it instead of writing it yourself. Because that happens all too often, and you're like, I should have just done that.
Great example, the guy I work with spent, I think, about a day and a half setting up like a very intricate, complex way of shutting the site down while we did maintenance. And I said, did you realize that there's a little switch in Drupal that you can just turn on?
It's just a checkbox.
He said he was so bad because he had this whole IP whitelisting and all this advanced and things like that. I don't know if that's necessary. There's kind of built in there. So, yeah.
It's kind of like the phrase, there's an app for that, but like Drupal version.
There's a module for
There's
that.
a module for that. Likely, and if it's not in full release, you'll probably find it in a sandbox, and it'll probably work just as well. They just don't want to jump through the hoops to get full release.
One of the things you have to do, though, is you have to accept the way the module does it sometimes. Sometimes
It's true.
you fight it because you had a way you thought you wanted to do it, and the module works a slightly different way.
I'm going back to the last slide since we're still there.
Because that was one thing that we run into a bunch of. It's like, well, we're using this module, but we want it to do this other little piece or something. It just works better when you accept it wholeheartedly and then you can write a little piece separately.
Some people I've heard just like find what they're looking for, and if all they need is that one little function, they'll take it out and make their own custom module based on that.
I've done that.
So if you don't want the overhead of the weirdness that module is providing, then that could work.
Yeah, for duplicating nodes, there's actually about 5 lines of code in the node module, a node dupe module, or whatever they call it. That duplicates a node, and the rest of it they didn't need. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. You just roll your own. All right, troubleshooting. This is the first question you ask. Did you clear the cache? How many problems get fixed by just clearing the cache the first time? Like, oh yeah. Anyway, might seem obvious, but somebody might not remember that. But that's a good one to remember. Coffee. This is a project. I realized I am only sharing that window. Let me switch this screen here. Hold on. Wait, can I do that mid? Yeah, hold on, wait for it. There we go. Coffee. You guys probably can't see that very well. Coffee is a really cool module, administrative module. You press Alt-A, and it comes up with this little Omni search box, and you just start typing what you're looking for. And so, like, you know how you install the new module that you never used before and you don't know what menu it's in? Like, you can't figure out if it's in sites, or not sites, admin, configurations, whatever, or, you know, like, anyway, you just launch it and it just starts going. I think I have an example. Admin if you want to log in. Alt-D, just type that and let's see, we'll just modules as an example, and it just starts looking for the things in the menu, and you can get to it really quick like that. So that's a quick little tip for finding things really quick. Name something. Boom. There it is. Cool. Anyway, so there's a tip for you. All right, let's get back.
What are the limits to coffee? Like, what can it not find?
It has to be in the menu. So you define which menus it should search, and by default it searches the management menu, but you can add extra menus and it'll find anything in those menus. So it looks up the menu table for that particular menu. Does that make sense?
It would be really helpful if you had, say, 6,000 nodes, and you really wanted to.
Yeah, but they have to be in the menus, I believe. So,
well, yeah. So you better hope you have a very in-depth menu system.
We do. It's required for Google.
All right.
It's helpful for Google.
So this was one of them that came up in IRC. So Poor Man's Cron, if you use that in Drupal 6, was a contrib module that would run at certain intervals. You would say, run cron every hour if it hasn't already run, sort of thing. So when a site visitor would come to the site would bootstrap, and then it would check to see if cron has ran in the last hour, and if it hadn't, it would run. The problem with Poor Man's Cron, or the Drupal 7 built-in cron, is that if it hasn't run in like a week, and you have your search indexing happening and a bunch of other stuff that's supposed to fire off, it can actually slow down your site. But if you're not concerned about that, where you get plenty of traffic, that it's not going to get bogged down and not being visited in a week or whatever, then you can just leave it on. So anyway, it's recommended to just turn it off. But out of the box, if you use the standard install profile, it turns it on.
Turns on Poor Man's Cron?
Yeah, it turns on the Drupal 7 version of Poor Man's Cron. It's not called Poor Man's, that's just what it's called in Drupal 6. I don't know what it...
It's just called cron.
It's just called cron, probably.
Yeah, so I realized I should probably have done this presentation differently. Because I have these links that go out, but...
Is this
anyway,
are you sharing a Google window? Or what is
I'm just doing one window because I guess I could just do my whole desktop.
Well, you could do a screen, can't you? One desktop.
Yeah, I'm just going to do that. I'll switch it. I was trying to be fancy or something. All right. Now everybody will be able to see my wallpaper. Just kidding. All right, so I don't know if you can see that very well. Can I zoom in on this? How do I zoom? Is that working?
Yeah.
There we go. So that's the cron page. So to turn off the Poor Man's Cron thing, you just go run cron never. But then you want to make sure you set up a cron job with this URL here. Xanax or Xanax, not Xanax, otherwise known as Josh on IRC, who's in Idaho, has suggested using Drush, kind of the way Ager does it. And there's a bunch of documentation here on how to do it. So I guess I'll post these slides on the groups page so you can find it. But it just kind of shows you how to run cron with
It takes about
with
30
Drush.
seconds to put an entry in the Linux cron tab.
Yeah, I know, but like there are some reasons why you do it this way apparently, because if you're running cron through cron tab through that external URL, first thing is it's technically going out into the world and coming back. So if you're not running SSL, like some people are concerned about that, it's not encrypted. The other thing is that it gets logged as an anonymous hit instead of like an internal piece of traffic. And I'm sure there's other reasons, but my understanding is it's in some situations if you run or if you use Drush to invoke cron, it does it differently and it's better. And that's as far as I'm going. I was hoping he would be on so he could share with us why and he could profess why it's more awesomer. But that's okay. I'll let you guys decide how you want to do it. I usually go with whatever's easiest. So scheduled cron job in cron tab it is for me.
Well, if you're running it on local host, it's not really going out into the world.
That's true. If you're using a private IP, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like if you're running over Wi-Fi, you'd be worried about security. If you're running it,
and I don't know how much of a risk that really is, but I guess potentially they could sniff your cron key and run cron when you don't want it to. But yeah, I know there's reasons I'm not up to speed on that one.
So apparently Xanax is on because he's listening to us because he's talking on the IRC, but we don't see him. Probably because it's a broadcast and not a regular hangout.
Is there not like a chat window?
Look at that.
Comes up?
He got mentions. Okay, let's see. I bet he wants to explain that, so let me figure this out. I think I need to invite him. I don't know how to do it. Somebody tell me how to do it and I'll invite him.
Do we want to make just a regular hangout? And then we could...
But then we can't record it.
What if you open the chat window?
Open the chat window.
There's one down.
Hold on. The QA or that one? I don't see anybody.
Q&A, maybe.
We're new here. Maybe I'll have to delete this one. I'm on the wrong window. There we go. Can't see it. My screen's too small. All right, well. Hi. Well, all right. Anyway, I guess we'll just move on. Is he talking to you in IRC? You want to be his mouthpiece?
I could hang out with him directly and just have it on my speakers, and then I'll pick up on it. That works a lot.
All right. Well, we're already committed. We'll just keep going.
Move on.
Keep looking at a note when you share it.
Yes, that would work. Okay, so updates. Sometimes if you have a bunch of like sites in your multi-site and you want to know what modules need updating, I use this often for let's say you can check for disabled modules. So, if you're trying to upgrade a bunch of sites at once and you're not too concerned about whether or not it'll break if you update it, this is a good way to do it. So you can check this box, and it'll check for modules that are disabled. And basically, you go to this list. Wait for it. It's probably going to take a minute. Yeah. So you have enabled modules and then disabled modules, and you can see which modules need to be updated, and then use Drush to download all the modules that should be updated for all your sites. I mean, that's kind of cool. And you can turn it off, or so you can set it to check weekly or daily. I usually go weekly and then just do security updates. Otherwise, it'll just pester you every day until you update it, and that's annoying. So that's one thing. Let's see. You can disable updating through the UI. Where'd that go? Wait for it. Here we go. So in Drupal, you can allow people to update through the interface, which could be dangerous if you're in a multi-site and you, for some reason, gave them user one access or permission to update stuff. So if you don't want them to update through the UI, you can actually add this. Well, it's not. It's actually. Oh, go back. It's already in the settings.php. This allow authorize operations. Thanks again to Josh for helping me find that. I saw it a long time ago and I couldn't remember what it was, and he helped me track it down. So it's in your settings.php. It's commented out. So uncomment it, and it will disable allowing people to upload modules through the UI or even updating through the UI. And that's pretty handy if you want to kind of keep your stuff locked down so you're the only one adding modules, in case you get that one client that has user one access for whatever reason on your server, which hopefully doesn't happen. And I already told you about the only get security notifications, so you just check that box. Anyway.
Does it require user one?
I think there's a permission for it, but I don't remember.
I was gonna say, 'cause I thought with Drupal 7 we'll roll out the admin permission.
But sometimes, like if you're working as a group, like I don't want Logan to mess up my server with modules, so I disable it from the UI because maybe he doesn't have SSH access, but he does, so he'll mess it up if he wants to.
So he's gonna
I will
every
eventually.
letter to mess it up.
Yeah, so like I just think it's nice to be able to turn it off because I don't necessarily want certain types of people to be able to upload stuff willy-nilly to the modules or theme folder. And I guess the best solve of all is to just turn off the updates module, and that gets rid of the annoying email notifications every day.
Doesn't Drush use the update module?
Yeah, so if you want to update with Drush, you have to have the update module enabled, but that's easy. You Drush enable updates or update, and then it'll turn it on, and then you can run update, and then you just turn it off when you're done. So kind of like turning off like Views UI if you didn't want that on for some reason, but if you needed to make a change, you would turn it on. So same concept. This one is super annoying. Promote to front page is on by default for the article content type. So if you go /node, anything that has that checkbox checked, it will show up in a feed if you go /node on a site. So if you go to some big site that hasn't been built very well, or they didn't know about this, you can see every piece of content, whether it's in the menu or not. It'll just show up there as long as that promote to front page checkbox is checked. I'll go to the node and show you. So just uncheck that and save. So if you remember to do that before anybody adds any content, you'll be safe. But yeah, it's kind of fun to go to some of these bigger sites that are on Drupal and see what they've got hidden that's not in the menu.
I think I remember reading somewhere that went away in Drupal 8.
I hope so, because
Or maybe it stays unchecked. It starts off unchecked. But I thought I read that somewhere in Drupal 8.
I think more and more sites don't use that particular functionality in Drupal.
Yeah, I've never used it. I've always created my own homepage, and if I needed a feed there, I built a view because it needed to be specific with certain stuff instead of just like teasers. So
I think it's just a legacy thing that's been around.
yeah,
It's how it was originally built.
it's been there for a while. So this was Arthur and somebody else's suggestion. I can't remember who. Turning on views queries. So views actually has like a settings page where you can check certain defaults. So like if you actually know what the query is doing, you can turn it on so you can see it. And then you can kind of troubleshoot why your view isn't displaying like the third relationship to the whatever content type that you forgot to add. But anyway, like you can show all sorts of data about it. You can also change some of the other settings, like triangles around your any instead of dashes. Anyway, so there's a bunch of settings. Just like I never knew about it until somebody pointed it out to me at some point. You can also, I think you can turn off like, oh yeah, there it is. You know how you've got that really big view that takes a while to load, but you're in a view and you're just trying to add fields? You can turn off automatic preview update so you don't get that AJAX warning when you stop it and like go to the next setting. Anyway, you probably know what I mean. But so there's a settings page for that.
That's good because that's really annoying.
Yeah, right?
So you only get the preview when you click preview.
Yes. Sites.php is pretty handy. If you have more than one domain name pointed to not the default folder, you can define or map domain names to that same folder. So if it's sites/example.com and you have the two domains, somedomain.com and another one.com, but you're not in the default folder, you can tell Drupal to point it to the example.com sites folder. Does that make sense? You guys know what I'm talking about, right?
Wow, you really butchered that.
No, I didn't. Quit being a jerk. But it makes sense. Like, that explanation makes sense, right?
You're just telling a URL to point to a given site.
Yes, instead of the default.
Defaulting.
Because you might have something else on the default site folder, and you don't want those domain names to point there, so how do you get it to point to the correct one? Well, you add it to the sites.php file, which is in sites/ there it is.
But it still does the default routing, doesn't it? If you name.
Yes, if it's not defined here and it can't find a site folder with the matching name, then it will go to the default.
Right.
Why are you laughing?
Because I used the word default in my statement, but default is the wrong word to use because that's the name of the folder. I mean, it still does the automatic trying to figure out what the folder name should be. This is just a layer on top of that.
Yeah, so you come in on a domain name, and it's not for the default site. It's for, like, you come in on somedomain.com, like it shows up there. It will first check to see if somedomain.com is a folder in there, and if it doesn't exist, it then checks the sites.php, and then if it doesn't exist in there, then it just pushes it to the default site. So yeah, this just catches it.
Automatic stuff first. Sites is a secondary step.
If I understand you, yes. if I'm following you.
But that's an interesting. I mean, because
Or is
it the other way around? Does it check sites.php first and then check the folders names?
I always thought it was the folders first, but
It very well could be. I've never actually tested it, but
I don't know.
somebody test that for us.
I just know that we've done a lot of interesting things in the naming. Good things, but in the naming of our development and staging environments to make it so that we didn't have to create all these symlinks because they're looking for folders with different names and things like that.
This, I think, was the solution to the Drupal 6 version of making a symlink to map a bunch of domain names to the same site folder.
that's what works. That's a lot better than
Yeah.
because you can put so much in here without having to create a bunch of folders.
In the end, we ended up just changing the way we named all of them so that it automatic would still find it. It just meant adding more and more subdomains. Subdomains will map to the main domain. It was nice.
Yeah, you can do subdomains with this too. And you can even do like slash whatever. So if it's example.com/Drupal, you just do example.com. In here, you would replace somedomain.com with somedomain.com.Drupal. Like instead of doing a slash in there, you add a dot, and it'll find the subfolder. And you can do a subdomain, and that just works the way you expect it. But anyway.
I'll just ports too.
Yes, it does ports.
Because
So
automatic ports as well.
by default, there's I think it's called example.sites.php, and there's a big, huge list of comments, and it explains all of that. So you can do
I just
ports as
figured
well.
Because they did that in automatic too.
Just websites in production, good practices. Turn off uninstall unused modules. Turn off user registration if you don't need it. Like, you get 1 million user registrations from like Russian and Chinese spam bots. So turn off user registration. You don't need it if it's just, a brochure site or something. Turn on caching and aggregation. You should probably all know where it is, but I'll go there anyway. So you've seen it before. Caching, I don't know. Do people use cache blocks a lot? I just check all the boxes and call it good. But that's where you do it.
Especially the aggregates. Aggregates CSS.
All right. No comments there. Pretty straightforward, right? Okay. Here's another one from Chuck. Template PHP is your friend. Use it. Do you want to articulate anything? Use it, dang it.
Don't put logic in your actual TPL files. Don't put database queries in your TPL files. Don't put, anything other than a for. That's going to Twig. You don't have that choice anymore, which is
right.
Probably a good thing for Drupal 8, even though it might be a little too limiting. But I think that if you're not going to write a custom module for it, the template.php is like, it sits perfectly between a custom module and doing too much in your template files, because you can actually, it's meant to have those pre-process. So you have your hook node pre-process, and you can do all kinds of pre-process functions in your template.php that are specific to that theme. And so you can do any theme logic at that level rather than doing it in the TPL file.
You're so boring. Just kidding. I want to put all my logic in the TPL. I think we should create nodes through the TPL.
You laugh, but I'm going through that right now. I'm taking somebody else's code who would do database queries and like integral joins and all these kind of things, fancy, funky, complex database in the TPL file. It's just,
aside from it just being dangerous, the other downside of that is if you're inserting a bunch of logic in the TPL, it's probably not accessible through the administrative UI or not hookable by something else usually. So that means you can't overwrite it later if you wanted to. You actually have to go crack open somebody's crappy code and fix it. So that's, that's, if anything, I think that should be a deterrent. You can't manipulate it later. You can't use Drupal's hook system.
Even if you're stepping through with a debugger, that's the last place you'd look for application logic.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, anyway, put your logic in the right places. Hey, speaking of custom modules, Dallas says you should do it right. So he was supposed to be here and tell us how to do that. So
Sure.
anyway, if anybody, I guess that just plays off of what Chuck was just saying, though. If it doesn't fit the template.php, and it certainly doesn't fit in your TPL, then it should go into a custom module. If you haven't already checked to see if the module exists.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to write custom modules. I mean, I think the right way to do it is go to Drupal.org and see if the project exists already that does everything you want it to do. If it doesn't, find the closest thing to what you want it to do, take the bit of code that you want, and go create your own custom module to do exactly what you need it to do. I'm on a little side project right now where I need to do something that's tracking addresses, and I'm looking at location module, which is this giant beast that hooks into every node and entity on your site. And then there's like Gmap, and there's like 100 other modules that are based on location and mapping and geocoding and all this stuff. And all I need is this tiny little thing to capture an address and get coordinates for it.
Use the address field. That's just my recommendation.
See, I like the address field. It looks pretty nice. What I want to do is hook the address field into the Google Places API so that you can just type in whatever, and it'll give you a drop down of most options.
That'd be cool.
And you can select that. And
Custom module.
so that's probably what I'll end up doing. But so then, then you're just talking about taking the piece that you want and adding on to it. And if it's a well-written custom module or a contrib module, then you should be able to hook into it. If you want to maintain it, if you want to keep its functionality, and just add on top of it, then you can kind of hook into what it's been doing. But
one other thing with custom modules is just because you're building it, still document it. Even if you're not going to contribute it back to the community, still document. Because that was one of the things that I inherited, was a bunch of modules that had grown and developed over time, and there was so much code that didn't appear to be used anywhere.
mm-hmm.
And a lot of it I was able to actually take out, but there was absolutely no documentation on anything, why things were added, why it changed, and so I had nothing to go off of other than the code itself. So I mean, when you're doing it, do versions, and do those changes so that you have.
Can you train your managers to reward people for documenting code? Normally, just reward them for adding features.
No, I am the only person that's currently in it, but anybody else who will go in it will do it. Otherwise, I will come after them.
With a big stick. So that's all good stuff. Rebuild registry. Do you want to be Josh's mouthpiece? Because he suggested using this. But anyway, there's the description there. Like, you can go and rebuild the registry within the Drupal database. So like so if you move like a module from the site folder to the sites all folder, or the other way around, then likely you need to rebuild the registry because it might get hooked up in there somewhere. Or you also have the situation where you might have had a module in there and then you removed it but didn't uninstall it or something. Like this can also fix those kind of problems.
I've found that with registry rebuild, it's a great module that you only put in when you need it. It's not a standard. This is part of my default list of modules type of module. It's
not the first place you go. It's not clear cache.
I'm not putting it in the list with views and token and those kind of modules. It's, oh crap, I'm moving something, and next time I update, it's going to break. Let me include this so that I can clear the registry and make it happen. So it's a good problem-solving kind of troubleshooting type of a module, but everything kind of breaks.
All right, good.
That's what I thought.
This was a Dallas's thing. I didn't know what to put in there. So if anybody wants to explain that. But basically, I know you can find out what stuff you have available in a particular array or when you're, yeah, anyway. So devel module provides the DPM, and then print R is just a PHP thing, right?
Right.
They're just different versions of your debug output.
Yeah, DPM only prints when you're in debug mode, right?
I believe so.
Well, you have to be an admin or have devel turned on.
Yeah.
So the devel module you have to have. But DPM is so nice because it's pretty printed.
Formatted.
It's formatted so you can kind of dive into.
Yeah, so like it nests
arrays
everything and it
and
collapses,
objects.
so you don't have to Control F and look for what you're trying to find, but
Yeah.
it's easier to find it.
Once you Drupal with all its arrays, Control F it, and it's like, we got this on the page 30 times.
Yeah, sometimes it does show
It was
up.
sub thing, and then it got built and moved into this larger piece.
Yeah.
Which one are you actually looking at?
All right. Oh, that was the last one. Okay, so that's as far as I got. Anybody have any other tips and tricks to add to it?
If you're in module development, hook update in. Hook update is when you are when you're updating an existing module and something in that module needs to make a change in the database. You can put that in the .install file. You put, hook update 7-1- whatever your version is. 7001 would be your first update. The N is the whatever version you're running.
Like, what's N mean?
I was hearing this. What is that?
So the hook that update, obviously you want to keep everything you can in code, especially if you're using any kind of version control.
Version control, what's that?
That's exactly what I said years ago. But now they got forced on me, and I'm like, I guess that's not a bad thing. So you capture everything in your repository. All your database changes, everything you're trying to do is now captured. And the nice thing is when you're doing updates, especially if you're doing dev staging, and you have a 7001 and a 7002 and a 7003. Well, you can run your update.php, and it'll automatically catch those in the order and track where you are for that module. So when you're doing custom modules and maintaining custom modules, it's a good place to, rather than having I updated this module, now I need to go into the view and make these changes, and then I need to go over here and make this config change, and you can put all that into a function. So it's a good way to do it.
Excellent. Any other tips? All right. Give up and just use WordPress instead.
Yeah.
You're gonna do that.
Just kidding. I kid. I don't know why I did that.
Might do what?
I don't know. So, the next piece of the meeting is just, I wanted to just touch on Drupal Camp really quick. Probably be done after that, but so I guess we have a place officially, right? Just confirming, looking at Tyler, he's giving us a thumbs up. So officially, Drupal Camp this year, August 15th at Western Governors. Gonna revisit that, and then it'll be awesome, and we'll have Wi-Fi, and it'll work. Darn it.
This is the same place as last year, right?
No, that was Miller Campus, Salt Lake Community College.
Okay.
Same place as
2 years ago.
Yes,
2 years ago,
Okay.
3 years ago.
2 and
Yeah.
3 years ago. So that's good.
August 15th.
So now we need sponsors, and we'll probably be able to turn on the site soon. Derek's doing an awesome job. It looks good.
Awesome.
We'll launch it soon. I don't know what we decided on ticket prices. I think he just threw in some arbitrary numbers.
Okay.
So
Well,
Arbitrary is as good as anything.
our, you know,
I like it.
with the free venue, that's definitely dropping our costs there. Unless we need to pay Tyler on the side or something like that. Give him a little something.
a little bonus.
No.
You can have an extra slice of
Kickback.
pizza.
But yeah, that's saving us hundreds of dollars, so that's really nice. I don't know what else we need to.
Well, the good news
That was
is,
gonna be my pitch if they didn't want to play with us on the Wi-Fi, was to get them to contribute
The money to.
I probably could have gotten it. It's gonna-
Oh,
they might still last minute, because they did that last year, right? Last minute. Give us a little bit of something. So, I was just going to say what was I going to say? Oh, no, so the money, like the leftover money gets, so the money's handled through the Drupal Association. And so they just kind of manage all of that for us as far as like taxes and all that garbage goes. So if we don't use all the money for Drupal Camp, we can use it for Doug meetings or whatever. We're paying for a meetup.com account or whatever it was. So things like that. And then, like, if we don't use it within a year and I haven't talked to them in a long time, then they just roll it into the Drupal General Fund. So the money goes somewhere useful
That's
if
right.
it doesn't get used.
yeah.
Um,
I'm not saying that we have to, you know, cut down the price just because we saved a few dollars, but I think as long as
yeah, that makes sense.
we're covering everything and everybody's happy with what we're.
Just have them throw on some scholarships, you know.
There you go.
We could have a reduced price. If the money's going to primarily roll forward, depending on what we need it for.
The gist
We don't
is
always-
we hang on to the money if we have
Yeah.
leftovers. So that's good.
Well, I think the idea of scholarship of, you know, free students, that kind of thing is not a bad idea. Yeah.
If we're going to save the money, I mean, there's not a reason that we have to worry about.
It might encourage better attendance, especially for students. If they don't have to pay the $50, they're not going to have a company that's paying for it. They're not going to have, you know, maybe not want to spend $15, $20, whatever we charge. What was it like $30 or 20?
Wasn't it 25 last year or something like that? No, 20, 25. Well, it goes up the closer you get because of, like, there's possible costs involved with changing food and getting them a shirt in time.
Okay.
So
Do we have people handling every aspect of it? I know we kind of had that list, and
we have a list. I suppose one of us should follow up. But Derek today or yesterday mentioned he needed to get a design for the t-shirts going, and I think we just need to start contacting companies and advertising that it's ready and people can start registering. The next big thing that we need to do that's always really hard for people is to get session proposals in sooner than later, because it's hard to provide enough time to vote on what we want to present on. Coincidentally, last year we had a couple more sessions more than what slots we had available. I submitted 3 of them, so I just took out 2 of my own, and it worked out. So anyway, but yeah, I would really like to see some competition to present, and I mean we have the availability to have 2 rooms going on at the same time, so we could easily have 12 presentations, I bet, or more. It just depends on how long they are.
And I think the more compelling the sessions are, the more people will get. People will look at this and say, oh, that looks really interesting. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So the sooner we can get those on the website and, you know, get those kind of finalized, I think people will be more likely to come.
The challenge that I've noticed is if we provide like a closing date for sessions, everybody will start posting like a couple days before. But the problem is if it's too close, then we won't get enough people posting. But if it's too far out, then it's too close to the actual event. So it gives me anxiety. So
we looked at.
I think some of that comes from having the site ready to launch earlier. I mean, the bigger we get, the earlier we can do things.
It's true.
And I mean, that's something you can throw up on the site when it
We
first
could
starts.
potentially
Volunteers and presentations.
we can potentially turn the site on like beginning of next week. I think we need to run it by like you guys being the people that volunteered to be on the committee, I'm calling it. I'm using quotey fingers for those at home.
This is quotey voice.
This is my quotey voice, and my fingers are doing quotey things. Yeah, it's just, yeah, I want as many people that are willing to share whatever they know. We need everything from like beginner presentations to advanced. Like I think some of us that have been around a long time are just, we've heard the same thing over and over every couple months, but it still brings in fresh blood that hasn't heard it, and it's not a bad thing to review the basics, which is kind of what we did tonight, was review basics, and it wasn't bad because there was probably something you didn't think about before or haven't thought of in a while. And that's kind of the point, is to just make sure there's a spread of the buffet, beginner to advanced. And anyway, so enough of that.
So on the wiki page that we created for the organization of the Drupal Camp, we have sponsor management, unclaimed, and website management, unclaimed.
Well, so it's sort of claimed.
Who's doing it? Is that Derek? Or
So Derek and me are tag teaming it.
Okay.
Basically, I'm just taking on anything that nobody's claimed already, but
Okay. Are you taking on sponsors as well?
I think I'm gonna end up with that. But I would like people to talk to their employers or companies they know. If you happen to like a particular local company or national company, I don't care. Just email your contact and see if they're willing to like send T-shirts or something at the very least. They don't have, preferably money, but we'll take free swag. Like we got the $100 gift card from Western Governors last year. We also got the Drupalize.me passes, 2 passes to give away. A whole bunch of T-shirts from X Mission. They also gave us some money too. I still wear that X Mission T-shirt. I like it.
So,
it's a good shirt. Yeah.
I feel like I've seen that recently.
I think I wore it like 3 days ago. So that makes sense. Anyway, so like it doesn't have to be money. Money is preferable, but ideally anything would work. So whatever we can give away or spend on things we can give away.
did Aqua give us anything last year?
Yes, we got money last year. I've tried to contact the person a couple of times. He hasn't responded, so I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if they've changed it or if we're just small beans still that, I don't know.
I can send them out. I mean, now that we're on Aqua,
Yeah,
I have
maybe you should.
a bunch of contacts now.
So.
Really easy way to get their emails. Critical emergency.
So, like, we're good on hosting. People keep offering hosting. We have that. Most of us have hosting somehow, so we appreciate it, but that's taken care of. So it's just, I guess maybe we need to post
Money,
like a
time.
list of stuff. Yeah, money, time, and swag. All right, so anything else on Drupal Camp? Anybody want to comment, say anything? It's kind of fun watching the dot up there on the screen as I talk.
It took me a while to figure out that that's what it was.
Yeah.
When you first had it up, I thought it was just randomly animating it.
Nope, when you talk. Hello! Okay, sorry. Anyway, so there you go. Utah Drupal User Group. Happy day to you, sir.
Check.
Check.
We're out.
All right, let's end this show. Thanks for coming. Do we have credits? Can we start rolling the credits, please? Anybody? No? Okay.